forget to hit that like, subscribe, and share button, and feel free to drop a comment below. And make sure to connect with us on all social media platforms. So without further ado, welcome to Brother to Brother. Hello?
This is a Global Tel-Link prepaid call from
Jamal Lewis.
This call will be monitored and recorded.
Assalamu alaikum, man.
Walaikum salam.
How you, bro?
I'm good. I'm doing good and blessed this morning, bro. How you doing this morning?
Oh yeah, I like how we did the Q&A the other day in regards to me and how much buying at home. So in that spirit, I want to do the same thing. You know, as we was our introduction, we talked about what was our reason for wanting to do the podcast. So you have mentioned mental health.
Yeah.
I don't want people to take your reason lightly, because you know so many people are claiming or connecting what they're doing to mental health, because you know it's a hot topic right now and it might be lucrative. So in my many discussions that we have, you have explained to me different scenarios in which you had incidents where it justifies your reason for this being a relevant topic for you. So share with our audience like a particular incident or your first incident and where you experienced a situation where as though feel as though you need to address or attend to it.
Well, for me, the first time that I can remember was it was a trip when I was coming back. At this time, I was living in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and I was bringing mommy back to Newark. And I believe it's a little foggy for me. I believe I was bringing her back to visit a friend. I was just going up for something, and she wanted to take that ride with me. Her and Deb's sister, Robin, and I believe it was like the closer and closer I got to Newark, like I was almost in Newark, maybe a few minutes, maybe 20 minutes or so away from Newark, getting off over there off of Central and by First Street over that way, by the McElroys and stuff. You come off over that highway. And I started feeling, well, I didn't really know what I was feeling. All I know is felt like my chest was getting tight, and it felt like I was having problems with breathing. And at that point, I knew that it was a hospital nearby, and I was letting mommy know, and she's looking at me like, what's going on? What's going on? I was like, I just got to pull over. I just feel like I can't breathe. So I pulled over, then mommy was making sure I was good, huh? Robin, like, you okay? You okay? And then I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and go to this hospital, right? And I went to the hospital. So when I got to the hospital, and, you know, going through all that, they gave me like a breathing treatment, giving me something to kind of calm me down, you know, like, almost like, you know, it wasn't a paper bag, but it was like the little plastic things you breathe in and out of. And it kind of, you know, got me to calm down. And the doctor was telling me, like, they were saying basically I had like a panic attack. So that's not the first time I heard that word, but, you know, it was the first time it happened to me, you know. So that right there is when I first realized, I mean, you know, I didn't know what was going on, but that's when it happened. Like, you know what I'm saying? That trip right there going to Norton. Well, I can remember before then, and I had one, but I was smoking marijuana at the time, so that's when it happened. So I just chalked it up to, you know, had a bad experience with weed, a little trip out. So I just kind of just left it at that, and they ain't really looked no more further into it. But once I got to St. Michael's, and they told me, and pretty much they didn't really care too much about it, because they kind of just like, oh, it's a panic attack. They didn't really give me too much information on it. Just was telling me how to cope with it. Like, you know, just trying to sit in a dark room and just breathe. And that's pretty much all they really told me. And then they kind of just let me go on my way. So.
Right. So if that's all they told you, then what made you explore it a bit deeper? Or why? Why did you explore it a bit deeper?
Another incident had to happen again, pretty much for me to really go into it. And like I said, I was living I moved to Williamsport and I left Newark. So
Okay.
this goes into, you know what I mean? I got locked up. So I don't want to really skip all over the place. So I'll definitely jump back to it. So I'm just going to tell you when I really got into it. So when I came home from the feds, when I got out and, partying too much, hanging out with friends and wound up driving drunk. So I caught a DUI. And from that DUI, they sent me to I had to sign into a day treatment. That was part of the deal that I made, a day treatment. And the place was called Crossroads. So when I got there, that's the first time I was given, I had to see a psychiatrist, a therapist, pretty much. So once I met with this therapist, she kind of tapped into, stuff about my past and stuff like that. And I explained to her about the anxiety, the panic attacks that I was told that I had. So we kind of went into that. She kind of let me know once I broke down on how the way we grew up and how the way I grew up. She kind of just let me know what she believed what was happening was that I probably was suffering from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Having panic attack, anxieties and stuff like that. She kind of let me know. And then from there, that's how I really knew something was wrong, but I still didn't go into it that deep.
So, in between the two incidents, right?
Yeah.
It was also a lack of information, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you believe was the reason for the lack of information, the lack of your response for you to go deeper into it to search that? But you're saying it was a significant amount of time in between the two incidents, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm saying that this may be go into that a little bit. Why you didn't pursue it? Like, was it because of the lack of information and stuff like that? Because that could be helpful as well. Because some people might be experiencing the same thing and not realizing that they end up in a space where information is unavailable and don't exist. So,
yeah,
help you out with that.
Well, for me, I believe what it was more of, I think it had a lot to do with my upbringing. Because again, like I said, I'm from Newark, New Jersey. The time I was raised and brought up in was in the 90s. So being in that element that I was in, you know what I'm saying? I think it came from more of being ashamed and embarrassed. So I didn't really do the research to really find out anything. I just tried to just keep it down and bury it down. I didn't really want to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's more how I dealt with it. And I think it was more just being ashamed, like not wanting to talk about it, not letting family or the people that love me even know that I was suffering from something. So because coming from where I came from, it was kind of looked at as being weak. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Yeah, I got you. I'm saying like you couldn't identify with it because we're supposed to actually go into struggle and come out of struggle as if we never even struggled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We go in strong, come out strong. It's not supposed to be piercing. It's not supposed to have an effect on us other than a positive effect, like we learn from it and push us forward.
Yeah.
I get that aspect of it. I definitely get it because we basically come from the same thing. But I always tell you, like, this is why I want you to share that, because sometimes we get in these spaces and we start thinking that what's happening to us only happens to us. So we start thinking that this is a unique circumstance. And in some regard it is, but it's common for us because it becomes a cultural thing.
Yeah.
I mean, our reaction and the response is cultural. So I definitely want you to continue on to keep, because I know I appreciate it because you help me see like situations where I possibly might have overlooked some things I should have dialed into.
Yeah.
But anyway, so now you're saying after you came home, you see a therapist, and the therapist does what?
I didn't take no real tests or anything. She just gave her professional opinion, basically saying that, you know what I mean, I could continue the treatment with her to go into what she believed that was happening with me. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, at that point, even at that time when I finished that program, she gave me some good information. She gave me some stuff that's when I started looking back towards my past to try to understand what was happening with me. Because when I broke it down and explained to her, you know what I mean, as a kid growing up in Newark, New Jersey, I was around a lot of, it was fun, but I also was exposed to a lot of death. You know what I mean? So that right there, just losing, as far as I can remember, the first time I really remember that I lost something, lost a person, was my little brother. And, to tap back into that, his name was Khalif. My nephew was named after him. But that's the first loss that I can remember I experienced, because I was so happy that mommy was pregnant and she was having a little boy, because I felt like, I'm gonna be an older brother to a boy. I'm an older brother to my sisters, but I wanted to have that. So that right there, when I start going back to my past, that's what I said, when I started recognizing the unrecognizable traumas and stuff that, I buried down, but that's something that affected me and I didn't know. So that right there. And then after that, we lost dad. We lost daddy. So, that right there was another thing, I lost dad. And then the way that all happened, he died. He succumbed to his disease and stuff like that. So, and then another one that happened was Nana. We lost Nana. And the way that happened was I came home from Jamesburg, I went to go visit her, and it was like I found out the security guard at the door told me that she passed away, and it blew my mind, because like nobody in the family told us that she died. So I felt like nobody cared about her, just left her down there. She died. Nobody had no information on that. And then from there, just losing Aunt Terry, losing our cousin Doc Key, losing Dome, Mookie, Judy, our friend Judy. So it was just so much death, death. You know what I mean?
And what I'm hearing, and like I said, it's helping me realize it too. We didn't have time to process it.
Yeah.
Because it's going from one thing to another. We didn't have time to process it. Nobody even told us how to process it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Especially when we growing up in the environments we grew up in, right?
Yeah.
Being black and then being as men. So being black, you're supposed to process something different, process these things differently.
Yeah.
Because again, like you said, it's a sign of weakness, right? And we ain't got time because we got this system that's on us, one. And then secondly, being men. So the social standards of what it is to be a man, you can't process, can't even deal with emotions in some regards. You can't even recognize them. The only one you can recognize is like happy. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the only one it's in the script for you to recognize happy. And, the sexual thing, because that comes with being masculine, the bravado of what they consider to be extreme masculinity.
Yeah.
So I get that, but also the thing is the processing.
Yeah.
So get into that. How did you process? You almost forgot to Cos.
Yeah.
Cousin
Ronald, yep.
And
Denise.
Right
Yeah.
So do you remember how did you process them losses?
At the time, you know what I mean? Back then, I didn't know how to process it. You know what I mean? I didn't know how to. Right there in that moment when it was all happening, it was like so much death was happening. It became part of the norm. So it was like I didn't know how to process. It was more like we cried a little bit and then you move on. It's like, okay, you back in that environment that you in where you can't even be vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? And then being young black men in them projects, when you have to, you've been given these nicknames and stuff. Like, my nickname was they called me Monsta. So you know what I'm saying? Here's this persona that I'm trying to live up to. I'm trying to not have no emotions to nothing. So at that time, being in that, going in and out of the youth house, going in these clubs, being around different blocks. So you around these other guys and other territories. So you trying to be this persona and you don't feel anymore. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm acting like this character that was created for me. You know what I mean? So I can't even tap into nothing. It's like I got to be on go time and my emotions got to be shut off. But when I got older is when it all started crumbling down for me. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's deep right there, because you're just talking about the undeveloped of your emotional intelligence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if you have to cut it off, that means it's not growing. It's not interacting with the world, so it's stale. It's just stuck.
Yeah.
So that's heavy. That's deep right there. And a lot of us are doing that. So it makes it extremely difficult. So again, fast forward to the future now. They done told you you're suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome. So now, how do you deal with that? information. So you say you start going back into your past, you start identifying certain situations, and you start putting your finger on it. So now, what does that do for you?
Well, pretty much nothing, because I still didn't seek help. You know what I mean? I still was doing the same thing I've been doing all these years, pretty much self-medicating. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what I did. I didn't do anything. I just kept continuing on going through with it like it didn't even exist.
All right. So, multiple, that's why I said this is very important, because you have a lot of people that do that. You go from not having resources, not having information, to having information, and then you slow to move on it. So now, you got this information, you're dealing with post-traumatic stress, you done left North, you in Pennsylvania. So what was that like? What incidents in there could you connect to the same thing, the same reason for your anxiety and stuff like that, that you, when you look back and that you can now put your finger on? Because again, you lived in two different environments, so there's two different reactions and two different needs for emotional responses. So give me that. Give us that. Help us understand that too.
Okay, now to say that, because it is two different places I was living in. So to go back a little bit to where I believe what happened, the therapist that I was at treatment place for, what she was making me understand is she believed the anxiety when I was traveling back to Newark, it was from Newark, because now I'm living in a whole different environment. It's not as violent as Newark, New Jersey. So there in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, I'm getting a little bit of a peace. So what she believed was happening was, once I got closer and closer to Newark, and all that traumatic stuff for me there, she believed that's what triggered the panic attack. Now, but back in Williamsport, now I'm there, it's not coming to surface that much, because I'm in a better place in my mind, and in my body around me, I feel like it's a better place. Like none of this, I don't have to worry too much about all the death and the violence. It's a little more peaceful there. But it's still underlying, it's still there. You know what I mean? It's still there.
Don't forget this part. Don't forget this part. You also switch what you was doing. Remember,
Yeah.
doing a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
So that too is important. You switch what you was doing, so that the level of intensity dropped, because you're really interacting with the streets as much too.
Yeah. Because like I said, it's the total opposite. It's almost like Mayberry, that where I was at. You know what I mean? Nothing's going on. You know what I mean? So at this time, I was working in Newark, but like you said, it still was, just the elements in Newark. Like it still was crazy. But there, like in Williamsport, it was like just work, going home. That's all it was. So I was able to relax. You know what I'm saying? I was able to relax myself.
Relax. That's the key right there.
I was able to relax. So now my mind ain't going as much. My nervousness, nothing is really happening. So I didn't, at a long while, I felt a little better. You know what I'm saying? I felt a little better. But what I realized was it was more deeper than just Newark. It was internal. It was something. Yeah, it was basically in me. You know what I'm saying? Because now these things are showing up in my family. You know what I mean? And those past traumas, they showed up with me, how the way I'm showing up in my family's everyday life. You know what I mean? So at this point in Williamsport, I gets locked up. I go back to the norm, you know what I mean? Panicking because at the job, it wasn't paying enough. I tried to do the working thing. It wasn't paying enough. So I fall back into the old patterns. You know what I mean? I started hustling again. You know what I'm saying? So from there, I get busted. I get locked up. I'm locked up. I'm in federal. I get locked up federal custody. The feds come down, bust me. I get locked up. Now I'm away from my kids. I'm away from my kids' mother. And now I'm missing from their life, and I'm an important role in their life financially, just being a dad, whatever. You know what I mean? I'm important.
And you're doing different than what the previous environment, so the pressures is different.
Yeah.
That other different. In the other environment, too many guys they're not in the household with their kids. They got the kids, they may be taking care of them, they're not in the house.
Yeah.
So you got that responsibility and that pressure too to do that. Even though you're not consciously aware of it, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're doing something entirely different than everybody that we came up around. So I continue.
Yeah. So now dealing with that being locked up and all the stress of me, now it's coming back a little bit because I'm getting into little altercations being locked up with people over stupid things, you know what I mean? And because I'm not out there and I'm so worried about, the kids, their mother, financial, their struggles. I'm worried about those things. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm also worried about, well, how much time I'm going to do, how much time I'm going to be away from them. You know what I'm saying? And it's just another blow, something else happens, another death happens. You know what I'm saying? And, unfortunately, my kids lost their mother while I was incarcerated. And it was just the way it happened. Like, I heard it over the radio. You know what I mean? And when I heard it, they didn't say a name. You know what I mean? I was just praying. You know what I'm saying? I just dropped down, start praying, and just make sure, just praying to God, just like, yo, keep my family safe, please. Not let it be my family, my family. And then later that day, I'm sitting there doing my regular routine, just came from the law library, you know what I mean? And took a shower, and they was like, they told me to call home. CO came, like, they called the block, call home. So I called home, and, I was talking to mommy. So mommy told me, and I already knew what it was. I was like, oh, don't tell me it was Mashonda. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it was. It was Mashonda. Now, not only that, I can't even process it because of the environment that I'm in. You know what I'm saying? Like, all I'm thinking about is my kids, but being where I'm at, I can't even show weakness even there. So I'm processing. I'm still not even processing it. I know what's happening. So, I step away, go to my cell, and I take that time, because people in there, they know, like, damn, bro, you good? People trying to check on me, my Islam, my Muslim brothers and stuff like that. But I was just still like, you know what I mean? It didn't hit me. It didn't really hit me until I got out. You know what I mean? And once I got out, that's when it hit me, really hit me, because now I'm coming home and she's not there. You know what I'm saying? She's not there. So
hold on. Before we go any further. So you're saying while you was in there, right?
Yeah.
You didn't seek out to talk to nobody.
Nope. I didn't seek out to talk to nobody.
Nobody in mental health. Was that available?
Nobody. Nope. No, I didn't know. I didn't check. So I can't even answer that because I didn't check. But they knew it happened. So let me say that it may not even been available because the jail was aware. They knew it happened. Nobody ain't come talk to me. Nobody said anything. You know what I mean? And like I said, I didn't seek out. I didn't seek it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, okay. All right. So now, back. You get out. Your kids' mother's not there.
Yeah.
Now what? What's your
now I go into, you know what I mean? I go into daddy mode. I go into like I gotta make sure my kids is good. I gotta make sure they straight. It was more putting my stuff on the back burner emotionally to show up for them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So pretty much that's what I did. But the self-medicating increased because I started drinking even more. You know what I mean? I started drinking even more. You know what I mean? But I was trying to get my kids into therapy to get them the help that they needed to process what was happening. You know what I mean? And going through that, I still didn't get help for me. I just was more worried about them, making sure they was able to get through this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's like we've been talking about. It's like the natural reaction in the hood. It's like to put everything on the back burner because you're expected to go through some things because of the system. I mean, we've been told this our whole entire life. The system gonna put you through some stuff. Yeah. So you're expected to let it bounce off. It's like we were talking about with the police brutality. We grew up in it. It don't mean nothing to us. We desensitized to it. It's a shock to everybody else because it's now video. But now you're adult and you're starting to understand that this is traumatic. First, we didn't even have that word. You know what I mean? We didn't know what that word meant. So we ran past these incidents and. Like I said before earlier, that we didn't develop emotionally in there. So now you have the loss of your father, loss of a brother. Now you have a loss of somebody else. Your wife. You have the loss of your the kid's mother.
Yeah.
And you still haven't sat down and dealt with it yourself.
Yeah.
You didn't weigh it. You didn't. None of this stuff you have dealt with. So yeah, of course, it's gonna be a collapse somewhere. Something's gonna, you know what I mean? It's gonna be something like.
But you also one thing you also can't. One thing you also can't leave out of that. Also, family knew it was all happening.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Family knew it was all happening, and I felt like I didn't have that support either. Now, you know what I'm saying? Nobody from family or friends, because what people think. Okay, what people think is that I'm supposed to be still the same person. I'm still the same them.
Yeah.
Not realizing I took so much loss. I'm different. I'm not the same.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what we can't forget that either. Like family play a crucial role in that also. Because when they say it takes a village, it really does take a village. Like, you know what I'm saying? For people to check in on you to make sure you good. You know what I'm saying? And that wasn't happening. And that's why something like, you know what I mean? It wasn't happening with my kids. It wasn't happening with me. You know what I mean? So that plays a lot in that shit too.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that. Because I can remember when you sent me the letter and I tried to write back and it wasn't even letting my letters go over there.
Yeah.
When you was in you sent me the article.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Right there when you're saying about you didn't talk to nobody because, you know, as Muslims in here we have Talent classes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a lot of times brothers be missing from the class, and when I run into them, I ask them, why have they been missing class? And they say they going through something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And our perspective on that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I was saying. That was good you said that you wasn't reaching out to nobody because, again, we're trying to find commonality that people can connect to. At the same time, I hear your story.
Yeah.
That's part of the life, too. You know what I'm saying? Because there's people in here that has a particular faith. Instead of going into the community, which share the same faith, they isolate themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm saying to you, like, that would be my next question. Did you realize that you removed yourself from your faith? You started, was that a conscious thing you was aware of?
No, not at the moment. I just wanted to be by myself in a crowded place. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I just wanted to step away just to try to collect some type of thought of really trying to rationalize what just happened. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't really aware of me stepping away from my faith until time had passed and I started grieving just a little bit. And one part of grieving is anger. So I was angry, you know what I'm saying? And I was angry at God, you know what I mean? Because you asked them questions, you start thinking like, what did I do to deserve this? Which I didn't want to question Allah, you know what I'm saying? But at that point, I just was so angry, you know what I mean? Just trying to figure out what part of my life went so wrong? Like, what is happening? Because I lost my best friend and then my kids lost their mother. Like, you know what I mean? So Islam, I was done. I ain't want to talk to nobody. I ain't want to say nothing. You know what I mean?
I get it. Like I said, this is a part that I believe a lot of people needed to hear as well because regardless of what your faith is, a lot of people do that, whether it's Muslim, Christian, a lot of people do that. They, instead of turning into the community, turn outside. Like I always tell you, like it's some people of all faculties of life that's on that Muslim, and sometimes you forget that because pattern thinking, you know, you acquire them over time, they automatic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what we revert back to a lot of times. So anyway, flash forward, but not too far. I don't want to get too far ahead to where you at now, how you got there.
Yeah.
You get out, right?
Yeah.
You out. So you self-medicate because of the loss of your kid's mother, and at the same time, trying to be a father, right? But not just a father, a single parent. Meaning that the total responsibility of your kids' complete well-being is solely in your hands. How were you able to get involved in another relationship?
Well, let's before we jump to that part real quick, let me just say this real quick. With the family aspect in Williamsport, like before I even went to jail, like, you know, we all was really close. But what happened was the impact of Mashanda's death it just took a turn on everybody. Like everybody just was a disarray. Like it hurted everybody. Like everybody was trying to process it and all that. And when I got home, like I said, when I realized I got home, she wasn't there. That's when it really started hitting me. So now I'm trying to stay strong for my kids. You know what I mean? Make sure they good, checking on them, see if they okay. But then, like I said, I started self-medicating, trying to suppress it. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I wasn't thinking about a relationship. It just kind of happened. And what happened was a couple of homies from, back home was in Williamsport. You know what I'm saying? And we was hanging out, stuff like that. We always was hanging out. I go to work, come straight from work. I check in with the kids and stuff like that, checking with them. And I'm running out the door. Like, make sure they good, then I'm running out the door. I'm going to go hang out, getting drunk until I pass out. I'm coming back in the house and I'm passing out and trying to hurry up and make it to work the next day. That's just what it was. And we went to a cookout. One of my friends, one of our friends, Fred, he invited me to a little cookout, something, because he was down there. He was in his little meetings and stuff. So he invited me to a cookout, and that's when I seen her. I met her there. And just to go into it, like Williamsport, it's like, that's the first time I was really exposed to like a lot of white people, period. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, but down there they really heavy into, a lot of black men be dating white women down there. They really heavy into that scene down there. Like me, I never thought that would be me. I just never thought that because, I didn't foresee nothing happening to Mashonda. Like that was just the rest of my life. I just felt at that point. But I was closed off. I was closed off to it. But what made it a fresh air when I met Jess was that she was from our home state. So she was different. You know what I mean? The lingo, everything like that. She was comfortable around black people, period. So that right there was different from the average white person moving around in Williamsport. Because it was like the other white girls that was around, all the black guys and us that we grew up with, all them, it was just like a sex thing, man. It's like they just wanted to explore that with a black guy. It wasn't really no connection there on no intellectual level talking, none of that. But she was just different in that way. Like we just vibed, like, you know what I'm saying? Over just talking about music, like our culture, like stuff like that. And she was very informative about them things. So that's how I gravitated towards her and I pursued it to try to be like, you know what, let me see what this really is. Like,
Y'all end up connecting. I mean, she aware of your children. Did she have any children of her own?
No, she ain't had no children. She ain't had none of her own.
So at this point, how long have you been in Williamsport and what were you doing for a living?
At this point, I was in Williamsport around about, let me say, I want to say about 6 years. I want to say about 6 years I was in Williamsport. And at this time, I got a job when I came home through Nyanka's daughter's father, Marvin. Marvin was working at Olive Garden. So he got me in down there. And I started working there. So by the time I met Jess, I think I was at Olive Garden maybe, I want to say, maybe almost a year. I was at Olive Garden.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now, y'all seeing each other, and she's now becoming the woman in your life, right? And as this woman in your life, she had no problem with assisting you with parenting your children, right?
Yeah.
So how were you doing at that time, psychologically and emotionally at that time?
Okay.
Getting better.
Mashonda's not there. So now this is a new situation coming into our family. So now, down there you have our family and Mashonda's family. So now, bringing her around and having to have her in that environment around people still trying to heal from what happened, trying to heal. So by this time, Mashonda she passed away. It was maybe about almost 2 years before I brought Jess around. So, you know what I mean? And they still wasn't ready for me to even be with anybody. So when I brought her around, it was a shock to, her family. Now, you know, mommy and our sisters, them, they never really said nothing because I'm thinking like I'm their brother. They might have felt something, but they didn't say nothing because they wanted to just, you know, show their support in that way. But, you know, everybody else was kind of a little vocal about it. You know what I'm saying? Saying little stuff and, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So she had to deal with that, being around that, being mistreated. Like, you know what I mean? And the thing that really, really made us get closer to me is because when I brought her around, my kids, they kind of like, they accepted it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Especially at the time, Ayana was really going through it, you know what I mean? Still from what her mother situation. And she used to just be in the room a lot, just be in the room. And when Jess came around, Jess kind of went in there and just talked to her. You know what I'm saying? Which that I felt like our family didn't do with Ayana. Nobody really talked to her. You know what I'm saying? So when Jess came around and did that, that brought my daughter out the room. So when I seen that, that put her in a different light for me. You know what I mean? Because she showed me that I already know what you're going through, because I discussed that with her about what was happening before I brought her around the family. I let her know what it was. You know what I'm saying? So when I seen that, you know what I'm saying? That just made me like, she know what's going on. So she willing to put herself in this situation for me. You know what I mean? And that meant something to me.
Yeah. So also, our sisters and our mother's reaction only validates our reason for doing this particular thing, dealing with mental health, because like you said, we really didn't know how to deal with trauma effectively. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like it was intentional. We don't know what we're doing. We don't know what we're doing. So consciously we doing this stuff because this is the environment we came up in.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so time passes and now we get to the situation with my nephew, Raymarr.
Yeah.
He gets arrested.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't mind discussing it, what was Raymarr arrested for and how did that affect you?
No, I mean, I'm still at Olive Garden. I'm working and stuff like that. I'm still dealing with the loss of Michonne. Like, we all still dealing with that. So now, you know, I can't take much more, nothing going on. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to make sure everything good. But I'm at work. I'm at Olive Garden. I'm at work. And I get my boss come back there telling me that, you know, Jess was outside, like, coming to the job. Like, you know, it was like, you got to go out there. Something happened with your family. So I'm dropping everything. I'm like, my family. So now I'm just like, what happened again? So she told me what kind of happened. Like, is something going on with Raymarr, this, that, and the other. And so when I heard that, you know, I thought it was him. I thought something happened to Raymarr. So, you know, I'm just distraught. I just left about the job, this, that, and the other, and not knowing what happened or what went on. Still to this day, I'm really not clear of what that situation was or what it really happened, because everything happened so fast, and it was like I didn't really get a chance to talk to my son. You know what I'm saying? Really about anything, because it was just fast. You know what I mean? So at that moment, what I felt it all happened over again. Like, everything was crashing. Like, it just reminded me of you. It took me back to what happened to you. You know what I'm saying? Because I know what I felt back then. When it happened to you, I felt like I lost you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I lost my brother. Now all in my mind was, I'm losing my son. I'm just saying, how can this happen to me twice? You know what I'm saying? With my brother, it was like parallel. You know what I'm saying? With you, with Raymarr, I'm like, what is going on? Like, you know what I'm saying? I just felt like, I don't know. I just felt I was out of it. Like, I was just out of it.
So, how old was he at the time when this occurred?
When he got arrested, he was 17.
So I got it now. I get the triggers. I just wanted to clear on that so everybody could be aware that he was a juvenile as well.
Yep.
So now he's arrested, regardless of what took place. He's arrested for murder, and now it triggered something, a reasonable response. He's locked up, he's feeling lost. So now he's there, he's dealing with that, right?
Yeah.
So because of where he at, we know he went to trial. How
Yeah.
much time did he end up getting?
They sentenced him to 62.5 years.
It's that no, like, they do in Jersey 30 with a 60 to 62 and a half years.
Yep. Yep. It was, no, I want to go over, it was kind of like your situation. It was like they offered him something and he was like, I might as well be in here, like, nah. Like, they offered him, I believe it was like 30 or 35, and he was like, I might as well stay in for, nah.
Yeah. So, I remember when, real quick, I remember when you had told me, like, yeah, bro, that thing, like, it just broke. Like, at that time, I was in prison, like, over 20-some years.
Yeah.
Right? And you told me, I took it in. I'm like, damn, man, come on. Yo, but I don't even share that with you. When I went to my cell, bro, I just broke down. I started crying. I mean, after, like, I don't ever remember ever crying, even Daddy's funeral, Kyle's funeral.
Yeah.
Never minute, but I was like, damn, the same exact thing happened to me, happened to my nephew.
Yeah.
Then it just hit me like, I might never physically touch my nephew. Because he was born while I was incarcerated.
Yeah.
That fucked me up. I was on the floor crying. I ain't never cried. I'm like, damn, y'all got sentences to life. I've been here. People done left me in and out of my life. And this shit just came out of nowhere. It just hit me. You know what I'm saying? So I can only imagine how you felt. You know what I mean? Even right now, I'm talking about tears coming to my eyes a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, I ain't never seen my nephew, like, really touch my nephew. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyway, Park. So now, we get to the, you get sentenced, right? Still dealing with that. You're working at Olive Garden. Is this where you want to stay at, dealing with Olive Garden? I know it had to be, like, this wasn't your end-all plan, right?
No, it wasn't. Like, I didn't want to be there at all. Like, because I was in go mode far as trying to be financially stable and be more better for my kids, like financially. So I was trying to get out of there. Like, I was trying in that town, trying to find some better opportunities, and it just wouldn't come because there it wasn't really no second chance place. You know what I'm saying? And they looked at us as, you convicted, you a felon, you come home, you try to get some help, you try to look for them resources. It just wasn't there for you there. It was either you at a fast food type restaurant place it was called the Strip on 3rd Street down. This was a street called 3rd Street. They called it the Golden Strip. There's a bunch of fast food places. Either you down there or you in the industrial area. You had two options. And now one of them was paying you pretty much nothing, and they was overworking you for the little bit of pay that they was giving you. So, I tried to go the school route. Like, you know what I'm saying? I signed up for school, trying to go in there and get my degree in HVAC. I tried my hands at HVAC, and what happened was the classes was super long, and it started taking away from me, missing days and hours at work. And now the little bit of money I was making, I couldn't survive. I couldn't, take care of my situation out to my kids. It was just, I really wasn't making no money. But mommy was helping in that aspect because me and her got a place together just to make the, a little lighter on me. Me and her got a place together, and that really did help. But it still was other bills coming in, and I didn't want to go back to the norm, back to trying to, what got me locked up, all that stuff. So that was just a no-go for me. I wasn't going back to hustling. But I was trying to go to get something done. So school wasn't successful because I had to make that choice. Like, either I try to go to school and not make the money and really struggle, or I just continue to work and try to progress in this job, trying. And that's what I was doing. I just felt like I was stuck there, and just years just was going by. Yeah.
So then you end up decide to leave. You eventually decide you want to leave.
Yeah.
And you moved to North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
So what was in your head when you was making that decision and your reason for moving to North Carolina? Like, what was really your thoughts?
When I realized there was no opportunity there for me, I visit North Carolina a few times because, Reek, good friend of mine's, Reek lived down here. So I went and seen him about 2 times, and, he knew what was going on with me there, and he was kind of selling me on coming here, like coming to North Carolina, letting me know, like, look, man, there's opportunities, there's this, that, and the other. So me and Jess used to talk about it a lot, but at the time I still was kind of still unsure about moving because I still felt like the little bit that I was getting out of Williamsport, was security, and I didn't know what leaving there would look like. But at the same time, part of that was still family too, because the majority of our family was there. You know, my kids were still there. My granddaughter was there in Williamsport, so that kind of made it a little hard for me to really decide to leave. But me knowing that I had to help Marmar, like all over my mind, like I got to do something to try to help Marmar out of the situation. So that kind of made me make the decision, the final decision to be like, let me go down there. Okay, let me go down there for a better opportunity.
All right. Now you get down there and you start a business.
Yeah.
Tell us what that was like. What kind of business and what that was like.
Okay. The business was the food business. It was something that I always been passionate about as a kid. Because if you can remember what a kid was, we used to go to High Park Garden and we used to steal people grills, and I used to be always the one on the grill. So I was always passionate about cooking. That just was my thing. So me and Reek used to talk about it all the time back in Newark. We used to always talk about having our own business, restaurant, stuff like that. So that's why I gravitated to the food thing, because I felt like that was my talent. You know what I'm saying? I was good at it. So that's why I went into the food business. That's what I tried to do. Well, that's what we did.
All right. Now, during Reek, y'all get into the food business together. Y'all don't get a truck. Y'all do a little something better. Y'all get a trailer, right?
Yeah.
Now, what was that experience like?
It was a great experience. Like just you know what I mean, the whole thing of going into just finding that trailer, fixing it up, doing little things ourselves, hiring people to fix it, and just a fixer-upper project. Yeah. It reminded me of doing the trailer. Me and Rick did the little movie cart in Newark. It kind of brought that nostalgia back a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So it was great. Yeah.
So what happened? What happened with the business? Y'all still in it? Y'all still doing it? What's going on?
Okay. What happened with that is, well, I'm gonna say this: unrecognized trauma, just unrecognized. And I say that because what was happening was, I'm on the truck, me and Reek, we together, two alpha males. You know what I'm saying? And you know, just the way we was running the business, like we felt like, well, I'm gonna say I gotta speak for me, can't speak for him. So what it is we both alpha males, and we just had two different directions. You know what I mean? But to say this, I found out that, you know what I mean, I still had underlying issues that was going on with me, because I brought that on the truck. What I'm saying is, me and my wife was going through a little bit at the time. We was just going through our little thing. Bringing that on the truck, I felt like I was doing a disservice, you know, as a friend. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, even with the business thing, Reek at the time, me and him had conversations. He felt like that, you know, he wanted his friend. Like, he just wanted me to be there, presently be there, and, you know, be around him more and stuff like that. And, you know, not being so closed off, because I was kind of closed off. I wasn't really talking too much. I was just more focused on, because I had one goal. My goal was, in my mind was, I just wanted to get there, start something successful, gain some money, and try to help my son. That's all. I was just in that mood right there. It wasn't no personal attack towards him, but I wasn't really thinking about his emotions or how he felt, because I looked at it like we had like 30 years of friendship, and I'm looking at it like, just look like he okay, he all good, not recognizing that me being on there, doing a silent thing, not really talking, not having after work, you know, like you go drink and chill with your homie, not doing none of them things, just going straight home. And I didn't know that was affecting him. Like, he just wanted to be around his boy. You know what I'm saying? And I just wasn't there. Like, in my mind, I wasn't there, you know.
That's a good place for me to understand that to take the responsibility in that, because, you know, sometimes when people, business don't go well, or business don't go well, they start blaming the other parties.
Yeah.
So, even though they may have part in the dissemination of the business.
Yeah.
The person that, you know, feel as though. So what happened? Y'all dissolve the business, and how did y'all actually do that? How did y'all actually dissolve the business?
So I pretty much, because I felt like at the time it was just out of anger, You know what I mean? Because we was bumping heads too much. And what we said to each other was we agreed that if this business get to that point with us, we don't want to jeopardize the friendship. So we'd rather just get out of business with each other to save the friendship. So it was just a thing I did because, like I said, I was still in my head, still not recognizing what was going on with me. So making stupid decisions, and I the one chose that I dissolved it. I just was like, went and just dissolved it. Like, I just got to get out of it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I did. You know what I mean?
So it's another crucial thing that we can, I don't want people to think that we just glossed over it.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm doing this is set up to the point that we haven't discussed, or you haven't brought it up. I don't know, I'm not saying intentionally, what probably didn't happen. When you're dealing with any form of therapy, because you're going through a lot, and I'm not hearing anything about no therapy. So, where we was at in that space.
Nope, that I wasn't going through no therapy, and it like everything started crashing down on me mentally, like, and physically. And that's what made the decision when I lost the business and still going through it with Jess, man, her just not in a good place. It made me realize, like, I gotta talk to somebody. That's when I made the decision to be like, you know what? Right after the business situation, because I didn't want to, I felt like everything was just going bad. Like, everybody that I felt like that cared about me, I wasn't showing up for them like I supposed to. So I looked inside, like, I got to get some help, because I felt like the common denominator with my relationship with my friend, my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my kids is me. So I'm like, I got to fix this. And that's when I seeked out therapy. I just had to. I was like, I got to go talk to somebody.
Right. So now you get into therapy.
Yeah.
Now, what is that doing for you once you get in?
In the beginning, I was a little hesitant because it's still kind of new. I was there before for doing drug treatment, but it didn't last. I mean, alcohol abuse treatment, but it didn't really last that long. And I still wasn't open to really telling my honest truth. So still in there with a stranger, I'm still kind of holding back on certain things, not really being transparent with her. And then it was, you know, she brought it out of me. She, like, you know what I mean? Because she asked Jess to join in on the meetings and stuff like that. So it started working. It started helping because she was implementing things for me to do, like journaling, you know, stuff like that. And it started helping.
Okay. Right. Yeah, I noticed it too. You know, at many of our dialogues, set up for us to establish the spot once you start getting into our discussion.
Yeah.
I noticed that you got a lot of clarity. You know what I mean? And you're thinking what you was going through and being able to identify
Yeah.
a lot of things that you was going through. Well, bro, I think you shared a lot that could be extremely helpful to our audience.
Yeah.
So, what I want to ask is there anything else that you would like to share before we come to an end?
Yeah. What I want to, this is the thing I want to say. Even with therapy, you know what I'm saying? I'm learning. I'm still learning to get better with my emotions and my outbursts and stuff like that. And what I'm realizing is, for me, where the cure is happening at is with my family. And when I say with my family, I mean like love. You know what I'm saying? Just being open to receiving it and being better with giving it. Because when it comes to that love, you know what I mean? Love is pretty much a feeling and a choice. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it, is a feeling and a choice. And what I mean is I felt love. I felt love, you know what I'm saying, from my family, but it took a long time for me to feel that. And I say that because when I really feel like I really genuinely felt love was from my granddaughter. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that nobody didn't love me and stuff like that. I didn't feel like I really, really felt it. You know what I'm saying? Until this little kid came into my life, and just, it felt unconditional. Like, she didn't look at me as this persona like Monsta Bim, or the way I talk, my voice, you know what I'm saying? Because my voice is a little deep, and, you know, my kids was kind of a little bit intimidated by my voice. Like, I don't even have to yell, but you hear my voice and they just used to be like, you know, that's me trying to discipline them, because I never beat my kids, you know, just maybe yelled at them and whatever to tell them to do this and that and other. And that kind of put a little fear in them. I didn't know that until I got older, until they started telling me these things. You know what I'm saying? But my granddaughter, it was just like unconditional. Like, and I felt like right then it kind of softened me a little more. Like I felt love for the first time. Like I really felt it. And then the choice, you know what I mean? Choosing to love. You know what I mean? So I chose to love my kid's mother. That's who I chose to love. So I know what choosing love mean. And then I never thought I would find that again until I met my wife, and I chose to open my heart up and love again. So I chose her. And then now what I'm working on today is I'm choosing to love my kids. Like, not saying I never loved them, but I'm choosing to show up better for them. I'm choosing to tell them every time I talk to them. And the most important thing of all that I'm definitely trying to work on is choosing to love myself. And that's just number one. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just choosing to love myself. That's it, bro.
Wa alaikum assalam. Y'all stay safe, all right? One.